So on today's episode, we're going to be talking about why every direct-to-consumer e-commerce business needs usability tests. It's a great episode you don't want to miss, so do stay tuned. Welcome to access to the 2X e-commerce podcast show. I'm your host, Kunle Campbell, and this is the e-commerce podcast dedicated to rapid growth in the direct-to-consumer selling space, or e-commerce, in general. So if you work in, marketing at an e-commerce business, you're a founder, pretty much the ethos of this show is to help you sell more to your customers. So each week, we interview either an expert, a founder at a direct-to-consumer e-commerce business, or a representative from a best-in-class e-commerce SaaS product. And we're focused essentially to helping you improve growth metrics such as conversions, average order value, repeat customers, your audience size, and ultimately, your bottom line. So without further ado, I would like to just segue into today's episode. Today, we're talking about conversion rate optimization. And just some very kind of like there's a divide at the moment in the CRO space, in the sense that the access available to enterprise customers is somewhat different to the access to smaller businesses, 7, 6, 7, 8-figure businesses, what they can afford as compared to the enterprise customers. That there's a huge disparity. There are some tools, out there that, do a few, critical things, but just the, hiring a conversion rate optimization, agency can be prohibitively expensive. And this is why I have Quinn Zeda with me on the show. She is from Conversion Crimes. She's the founder of Conversion Crimes, and it is a user testing platform essentially, for you to get qualitative data. You can actually transform into quantitative data. We're going to talk a bit about that. But she has essentially helped a ton of businesses in with conversion rates, as in the on the agency side, and she knows what it means, what it takes to essentially work, what the challenges are with CRO. I'm going to just I guess hand it over to Quinn. Quinn, welcome to the 2X e-commerce podcast show. It's a pleasure to have you.
Thanks for having me. I'm super stoked to be here today, even though it's
Fantastic.
like 7:30 in the morning.
Fantastic. We thank you guys. We're in London time, and a lot of you get up pretty early for this show. We appreciate it, though. Very, very thankful. So I guess I haven't done you sufficient justice in terms of like your introduction. You have a ton of experience. I checked out your profile, and you're building something really relevant to e-commerce. Would you mind taking a minute, or probably even two, to just introduce yourself and give us a bit of a background, Quinn?
Awesome. Yeah. So basically, I used to run an agency called Zeda Labs, and we helped 7-figure businesses scale. And we did everything from researching their customers to finding the most profitable customer, going through their operations and their processes, because you can sell the customer on the front end, but if you fail on the back end, then it's also like a CRO deal as well. And then we would take all of this data, analytics, competitor research, and all of this, and we would turn it into a new website. We completely did like end-to-end rebuilds for them. Okay. And when doing this, I found that user testing was kind of the 80-20 of CRO and user experience design. And I used this tool in my agency, and I found that it was really accessible for enterprise businesses that have these big teams and stuff, but it really wasn't accessible to smaller businesses. So that is my inspiration for building Conversion Crimes. To take a line from Shopify, we wanted to like arm the rebels and kind of level the playing field a bit.
Absolutely. I love that. I love that. I love that. So I recall back in 2013 or maybe 14, we almost got an interview with user testing on this show because at the time I was exploring the world of CRO from a content standpoint for the audience. And, at the time they were giving free just free tests. They were pretty much on their knees, and they've established that they're quite an established platform right now. Could you explain where they are so why can't most merchants you just go to usertesting.com and and use it?
It's just really cost and time prohibitive at this point. So their subscription, I think last I checked, it's like $24,000 a year. Their platform is set up for teams, so the actual pulling the data from these tasks, you have to like enter in all this data, export it to Excel. There's tons of busy work involved, and it's just cost prohibitive. So they started out they had like a peak user testing. They shut that down. It was like you got like a free result every month, and actually we're it's not launched yet. We're in beta, but we're trying to do the same where we can get like a free result every month, because we want to make user testing more accessible to small businesses, because user experience is the future, and that's what's gonna make businesses win. And I want to make the web more user-friendly, and I want to help small businesses do that because, like I said, I want to arm the rebels. I believe in the little guy, and
Absolutely.
It's not just corporations and big enterprise companies that have these huge budgets that can afford to have entire teams dedicated to user experience. Where small businesses, you may have like a marketer that has like 10 jobs in the company. They're wearing like 10 different hats, whereas the enterprise company has one person for every single one of those jobs. So that was really kind of where I'm coming from and why.
Fantastic. Glad there is an alternative, a viable alternative, and it's your platform. Now you talked about let's talk about principles and why people need e-commerce managers, e-commerce teams need user testing. So let's step back a little bit, which is down to user experience. Obviously there's user experience outside of your platform in two ways, both front end and back end. User experience in terms of like the ads you create, in terms of just how you craft just performance ads in general, the front end, and then there's user experience on your website, and then there's user experience or customer experience rather, post purchase, so pre-purchase and post. You guys are right smack bang in the middle, right? So what key pillars are required for e-commerce teams to just stay on top of conversion rate optimization, of user experience rather, when they're on site, when customers or potential customers are on site?
Yeah, so there's a lot of different ways that you can measure the user experience and get data. So you have things like Google Analytics and Hotjar that can kind of tell you like where people are going in mass, so quantitative data, where they're like kind of bailing, what they're clicking on the most, this sort of thing. Then you have stuff like A/B testing, where you can determine like which one of these things are better, which one is going to perform better. And then you have stuff like where you have on-site surveys, where people can, like, what questions do you have about this? You can kind of get data this way. You can interview your customers. You can do surveys. There are tons of different ways to be able to kind of measure and get data in order to improve the user experience. But a lot of those tools, they require you to have some kind of knowledge and be able to take that data and turn it into actionable insights. And that's where user testing really shines, because really it's just someone talking through their experience and telling you exactly what they're feeling, they're thinking and hearing. So it's kind of the 80-20 of it, right?
So in testing, in the whole CRO testing world, there's this very critical bit of, has it hit statistical significance? You find that a lot in multivariate and A/B split test, or what have you. It's even statistical, as a statistical principle. Now, how many tests, how many opinions, or how much feedback, how many iterations of feedback does an e-commerce team need to be assured that they should head at a specific direction off the back of the insights from a user test?
Yeah, so with user testing, really you just need 5. And
Right.
a lot of people are like, really, only 5? Well, 5 is enough to kind of show you what's an anomaly. Like, did 1 of 5 of the testers have an issue, or did 3 or 4 out of the 5 testers have an issue? So you can kind of assume that one thing's widespread and the other is not. And then you can go to your analytics and stuff and back that up, right? Because now you know where to look. You can see like, oh, is that true or is it not true? The thing is, if you do it with 20 testers, after about 5 videos, they're going to be saying the same thing, like literally over and over again. And so it's really just kind of a waste of resources. It's kind of the law of diminishing returns. So it's actually better to do 4 tests with 5 testers than it is to do 1 with 20 to get a little bit more statistical significance. So really it's better to test early and test often and get these insights, so you can run a test, like find an issue that something had. Like for example, one tester in a recent test we did for a customer made a comment about, oh, when I add this item to the cart, I don't actually want to leave the product page. I want to continue shopping. And it was like it was bringing them to the cart. And so they actually changed that, and like immediately their AOV went up and their conversion rate.
Yeah.
It was just like a simple learning like that. And it just came from one comment that someone said, and you would never find that in analytics.
And then how do you prioritize what action to take, or because the sample size is so small, you can pretty much almost action every insight you get from the feedback you get from users?
Yeah, so some of it, you kind of have to take in what you know about your business and things like that. But ideally, it's like people are going through and you can see them struggle with a task, And so if you have 3 to 5 testers that are struggling with a task, then you can say like, okay, I need to concentrate there. If there's just one tester that's kind of struggling, you can kind of assume like, okay, like maybe I need to fix this, but this other thing is a bigger priority. Maybe they're kind of saying something and you've tried that in the past. Like one thing that kind of comes up is, in general, people hate pop-ups, but when used well, they convert. So this is what I kind of mean by taking what you know about your business. So if you know like a pop-up's converting, just because a tester says like they don't like it, it's because they're not there at the right time and in the right space. So to be like, okay, now if that pop-up is coming up like 7 times during the test or in like the first 2 seconds and they're annoyed, then there's validity to those comments, right?
It's nuanced, and at the same time there's context, as you alluded to with the example on the pop-up, with the pop-up, if there's no context, it can be annoying. It can be really annoying if the settings are not done properly. Okay, and you don't know who you're talking to. Okay, I guess we should talk about what a user test looks like. So with a user, could you break down the what a user test looks like? Some people might be listening, they might not even know what we're they might never have carried out a user test. It's
something that's like very well known in the enterprise world and with people that do this for a living, but it's not really well known outside of that. So pretty much what a user test is you give a tester a set of tasks to do. Right? And it can be anything. Like, let's say you're getting a bunch of support tickets and people are like, well, what color backpacks do you have? And you're like, this is on my product page. Like, why are people like coming to support asking me this? So you can write a test that says like, hey, like, go to go find a backpack that'll fit your 15-inch laptop or whatever, and then what colors do they offer? Like, you just ask them this and see like where are they looking for that information, can they find that information? And so you can kind of determine like, oh, they're looking over here for it and it's not there, it's on like the top left and they're looking at the bottom right or something like that, so you know exactly where to move it. So really at its core is you set these tasks for testers to do, and really the only limit is your imagination. You can have testers do anything and answer anything. They're recording their screen while speaking their thoughts out loud. So they're like, okay, I just landed on this website, I have no clue what it's about. Or maybe they're selling, dresses or something like that, and they're selling like something completely different, right? So you can understand, do they know what it is? And then they just kind of speak through their experiences, their understanding of it, what they like or dislike, when they're frustrated or where they're struggling. And so it's really just a video of someone's experience, their first time experience on the website, and you just watch it.
And they're saying it. They're not just they're expressing how they're feeling, what they're facing at every step.
Exactly.
Because
that's
you
a common.
Sorry. No, go for it.
That's a common misconception, because like Hotjar has these like click things where you can watch like where people are moving through the site. But the difference with user testing is that they're actually speaking their thoughts out loud. You can hear them. You're literally like inside their head.
Yeah, and they're better produced videos, by the way, because I'm with Hotjar. There's some lag on there. It's annoying. It's very. I tend to give it to like an intern to look at. Anyway, I digress. So it's super interesting in terms of what you're able to get, and I guess another way to go about this is if your analytics or your data is telling you that there is a drop off at a particular spot in your flow or your site experience, and it just keeps on telling you, and you're not quite sure, you can't put your finger around it, you could run a test specifically for that issue, like the add to cart. Let's say why is my ATC ratio or conversions to add to cart so low, or why is it that I'm not getting, let's say you're doing like maybe 10% add to cart of all traffic, and then it's 3% for initiate checkout. You're thinking there is something wrong between that add to cart and initiate checkout, and you can't just get your fingers around it. You then say, okay, I'm going to get to run a test to say, okay, go to initiate checkout or go and make payments, and add an item to your cart and make payments. And so that could be a particular task for a user test. And then the insights you get from the shoppers or from the testers hopefully will help you identify that particular issue you couldn't get your finger around. Is that kind of like a...
Absolutely. So we had a test that we ran for a high-end consumer electronics store, and they had one of those, where you can like pay on like kind of like a loan, and you make like payments. I can't think. Payment installments, install payments.
Exactly.
Exactly.
Like Klarna or
so
Afterpay.
They were getting a ton of customers saying they were a scam. And they were just like, why do people think we're a scam? Like, what is going on? So we ran a user test for them, and they found that when they were entering information on their store, and that information was then being sent to the to apply for the installments, it was sending the information wrong, and it was causing an error. And because they were entering sensitive information, the people thought it was a scam, that they were like stealing information from them. So they just found this like little error that was like literally like a 5-minute fix, and then immediately it kind of like unlocked their checkout. All of a sudden their AOV went like from, I think it was 1,000 to like 1,500 to 1,800, and then their conversions like doubled, like literally overnight.
It's so important, to set a system, a system, an automatic system in which you're always, that's always snuffing or sniffing out errors on your site, and then that is somehow put into a test, as in you're getting users to test that, that's a hypothesis, like a hypothesis generation system, which clearly issues on site, and then you get these guys to test. Now, what is the profile of testers? There's so many, customer personas, and so how do you sort of whittle down who would be the best person or tester to test? Like, if you put me through fashion e-commerce, like Fashion Nova or Pretty Little Things, there's just no way I could give you feedback. You need someone in their their kind of like demographic, I guess, female in their 20s, who shop every other week, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. So really for usability, like can someone use this? It doesn't really matter who tests it. Because I mean, it's like, are you able to figure this out or not? Like anybody can do that. But for user testing, it's about getting close to your target market. So what we do is we have like targeting. So if you have a pet store, it's like must own a dog or a cat or something like that, because then they're gonna know, like, okay, I wanna my dog's, like, for example, my dog, she's allergic to chicken. So when I go to buy something online, I want to know, like, are the ingredients there? Can I read the ingredients? Can I like find that out? And there's lots of dogs with food sensitivities and stuff like that. So yeah, we target for niches, and our goal is to get pretty close to the target. Like obviously, if you have something like super specific, like we had one that was like truck drivers with CDC licenses in California. That one's a little bit harder, but like
in California again. Okay, all right.
Yeah, like like super specific like that. But if someone's a truck driver with a CDC license, they can get pretty close into the mind and kind of understand, like, these are the questions I would have, or what have you. So yeah, that's you're gonna get much better, more consumer and customer insights from someone that's close to your target audiences than not. If you're just looking for usability, that do people understand what this is, can they use it, then it really doesn't matter who's testing it.
Yeah. Context is so important. So I'm guessing you have quite a variety range of testers on the back end that will test on a whim. As soon as they're assigned a task, they kind of like what are the kind of turnarounds, and what does the back end look like from a testing manpower standpoint?
Yeah, so we have like a tester pool. Obviously, we don't have as many as user testing, and we're working on like building it out more. But yeah, you can testers, basically when you create your test, you define like who you're looking for, and that goes in our system. So it's only sent to testers that kind of hit that market. And then we have kind of a right end where you can say anything kind of super specific that you want them to do. And we're actually working on building buckets that we're putting them in, like tagging all the testers. So then later on we can kind of add the a little bit better functionality on our test creation form. Yeah, exactly. And so yeah, what that does is it goes out to the system, testers get notified, and then they just like claim a test. So it's not, some people, they do testing as kind of like a side income, or they're like, hey, like my wife is upset that I spend too much money on books, so this is what I do as like a side income, just to like, it's fun to test websites to give my feedback. So they get an email and they're like, okay, I'm gonna like take this test, and they take it, and that's completely automated. And most tests fulfill within a couple hours to a day. The ones that are more targeted right now, because the size of our tester pool, they can take a couple days sometimes. Okay, makes sense. Makes a ton of sense. Okay, Quinn, it's been a pleasure, having you. I don't think there are any other major questions I have. But yeah, conversion crimes looks interesting. User testing has its place in your optimization. Just activity essentially. It's on-site optimization for user experience. It's been a pleasure. I didn't know conversion crimes existed. And I will definitely give it a shot. Give it some recommendations and get feedback.
Appreciate your time, appreciate your insights, and it's a pleasure to have you on the show.
Thanks for having me. It's been an amazing morning.
Fantastic.